Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Hi everyone, it's your girl Simone. Welcome. I'm glad you could be here. Today I'm going to be doing a year in review of D1 year. So I got this video idea from my dear friend Zoe, who just finished up her L1 year at Penn Law. So definitely go watch her video. I don't even go to law school, girl, and I watched the whole 32 minutes. So I thought that this would be a pretty fun video to do, just retrospectively, if I ever watched this back and I'm like, what was I complaining about 4 years ago? Then I will be able to know exactly that. And to preface this video, this is not a how I got into dental school, admission cycle, what my scores were. I'm not that girl. As important as those things were for my journey, obviously, I have decided for my mental health that I will not put weight on things like scores and grades. So if you are looking for that video, I'm sure it's out there somewhere. If you really do want to hear my experience with the admission cycle and everything, I guess I could talk about it. I genuinely forgot most of my experience, so that's really the main reason why I won't be doing a video about it. But yeah, if you do want a day in my life or something, I guess when I'm a D2 in July, I might, think about doing something like that. Before we start the video, I did think it would be interesting to give a little about me so that if you share any of these personality traits or anything, you can potentially benefit from some of the takeaways and things that I've learned personally as a fill in the blank. So I'm a Gemini. Here is my birth chart. I am INFJT on the Myers-Briggs, and I am a type 2 Enneagram. So if you kind of have those traits, kind of have the similar thought process as somebody with those traits, I thought that that would be, beneficial to maybe know so that we can connect and you could benefit, I guess, from what I might have to say. So this video, like Zoe's, will be split up into 4 different areas, so feel free to click around if you are not interested in one area over the other. Like I said, this is based off of my experience, what I've learned, and I thought that these areas encompassed my journey at dental school thus far, and my biggest takeaways from them. So I'll be talking about academic, social, my mental health, and closing thoughts, statements, arguments. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into the academic portion. For classes, classes really weren't that hard themselves. Each individual class was pretty interesting. I felt like they might have been able to been switched around in timeline and stuff. We had some entry-level clinical skills at the very beginning of class, and we didn't really hit clinic until late second semester, which whatever, I guess they're just trying to introduce us into dentistry as a whole, so you can't really be mad at that. But we did take classes like ethics, dentistry and culture, and then we had some science classes like fundamentals, where you covered pharmacology, microbiology, just real quick. And then we did neuroscience, gross anatomy, cardio, pulm, which is cardiology and the pulmonary system, and then we will be going through each individual system as we go on, I think continuing next year. And then we had more dental focused classes, like I mentioned, entry-level clinical skills, medical emergencies, and for our school we had special topics which basically introduced us into clinic, and kind of forced us to get our hands dirty, give injections, take impressions, put on rubber dams, touch a bird at a tooth, which I really liked. And it was towards the end of the semester, so it was kind of a more, just relax, get into the feel of clinic. And so for me personally, the hard part was not the content of the classes. I think with any amount of time, all of the information would have been easily absorbed into this pretty little brain of mine. However, it was the sheer amount of coursework that we had for every single class. So for dental school, not every class lasts the entire semester or one amount of time. You could be in the middle of a class, finishing another class, starting another class, doing the final for another class, starting the first test of the other class. It's really that pacing that was kind of an academic culture shock for me personally. So it really wasn't the class itself, it was just the accumulation of all of the classes and the pace of all of them. And so that kind of leads me into my next point, which is grades. I'm not a grade girly. I made the decision almost kind of recently that if I was going to spend another 4 years in school pursuing a doctoral degree, I could not have my world revolving around statistics and scores and putting all of my self-worth on a test or a grade. I admire people who do really want to be the top of the class, who do want to get all A's on every single exam. It's important for if you want to specialize, I'm sure. However, for me personally, I put more importance on my interpersonal skills, my clinical skills, my operative skills. And so those are the areas where I do critique myself heavier. And truly, if I tracked every single test that we took and continue to beat myself up over the fact that like I literally cannot break class average on any test, I'm always 1 point below, like 3 points below, and or getting the absolute lowest score. It's just a lot mentally, and I know that I personally can't handle that kind of, expectation on myself. And so I'm not that girl. And that's okay. So I would give the academic section of dental school so far like 7.5 maxillary canines out of 10, because a maxillary canine is just such a pretty tooth. Yeah, it wasn't horrible. I think I personally could have done better, and so could have the school have with just organizing certain classes and stuff. But they heard about that in my course eval, so I'm not going to sit here and talk about it anymore. So the next thing is social life. So I'm going to be talking about friendships. I'm going to be talking about relationships and dating as well. Start with friendships. It was a little harder, I think, for me personally. I have like a 61% introvertedness. So I'm not like super introverted, but I'm okay with being by myself. And I used to rarely ever extend my hand at first, and that is because like I was coming from a different background than other people in my class, and I was a little worried about if my opinions would clash with theirs. I'm at an age right now where I don't argue with people. I really don't. I expect you to say what you say with your chest, and whatever I say, I'm gonna back up. And I think that we are just at a point in our lives where I shouldn't have to educate you about like racism and sexism and stuff. Like, we have Google, you're 27 years old, like it should be at this point where like I'm not the one. And so I had a lot of fears going into that aspect of it. I am one out of 6 Black individuals out of 83, 84, I can't remember, individuals. Like, we do have other groups of minorities, but yeah. So when it came to making friends initially, I felt like it was high school all over again. It was that like dreading feeling of walking into a lunchroom and not having anybody to sit with. There was this time where I went to the Starbucks, like a couple blocks from my place, and I saw a group of my classmates studying, and I actively left. I left to avoid seeing them, saying hi to them. I was just like too nervous myself. So yeah, I was like, I'm out of here. Nope, you can have the Starbucks. When I full and well, like we were studying for the same class. Anyways, so first semester, I felt like I was a little behind in terms of like making friends with people. Okay, if you hear gnawing, it's June. I can't stop her. She's her own woman. But transferring into second semester, I saw, you know, people had their own pockets of friends. I was like, damn, did I really fall this behind, like, with making friends? I had, you know, my 3 or 4 people that I talked to regularly, but I really wasn't, like, going out to a bunch of parties and, like, socializing and stuff like that. And so I felt, like, really behind. And I was basically like, wow, I'm never going to find my group of people. But this is what I learned in terms of friendships, is that we all came in with this like very new energy of like wanting to be wanted and wanting to be a part of groups and stuff. And I think that forces people to try to form friendships in places where they will not necessarily thrive. And so once that initial guard of like, oh, we're new here, oh, it's so exciting, like, oh, let's hang out and do all this stuff, suddenly falls, and you start to see like really what that person is like, what their core beliefs are and values and stuff. Like, there's a chance where you could have already formed this friendship and now you can't back out of it now because you have like some sort of foundation. And so my thing is, at first I was really upset that I didn't have friends. But now second semester, like me, you know, going out and having been able to kind of observe people from a distance, I was able to kind of zero in on people who I knew that I would click with really well. And it's the best feeling when you're talking to somebody and you're like, wow, I really, like, I've wanted to talk to you for a really long time. I wanted to, you know, hang out with you. And they're like, oh my gosh, I felt the same way. I just didn't know like how you would feel about it. And you guys like instantly click. So that being said, this second semester, I have, you know, really, I think like come into my friendships and started to like build that foundation that I was really sad about not having first semester. But the thing is, like, you have 4 years with these people. You have years to learn them and learn what they stand for and who they are and how they're gonna advocate for you. And again, we're at this age where I don't do like superficial friendships anymore. I'm not like, this isn't high school. So if we're gonna be friends, I expect you to, you know, be in my life for a while and be there for all of our milestones and stuff. So I think that's important. So if you're struggling like with the thought that like, I'm introverted, I don't really know how to like make friends and stuff, just take a breath, take your time. It does not all have to happen within the first like 2 weeks. I promise you, people are gonna reveal their true colors like months and months later. So that filters in kind of into the relationship aspect. So I did go through a breakup at the beginning of the semester, and I remember this one because Alexa, play Love of My Life by Harry Styles. But I remember this because we broke up like right before a fundamentals test, and I failed that test because I was up boohoo crying all night. And even I'm pretty sure on like the camera where like you take your picture, I was like swollen because I had been crying all night. Anyways, the type of person I am is, before I get into a relationship or any kind of commitment really, I need all of the information about myself. Not necessarily about the other person, but I need to know and discover things about myself. And one of my biggest fears with like getting into relationships is that I am, you know, potentially gonna miss out on discovering something about myself. And so I decided to start like casually dating. I got on Hinge, I got on Bumble. Child, that could be an entirely separate video on like my dating stuff. that part isn't necessarily important. The part that does have to do with like dental school though is that casually dating really like actually got me out of my shell. It forced me to meet somebody that I literally do not know, and being able to converse with them, being able to go back and forth and like really, you know, ask meaningful questions about who they are. I feel like that like awoken something inside of me that helped me not only form these friendships like in the second half of my school year, but also being able to converse with patients, obviously not asking them like all the deep relationship questions, but being able to just like speak up and in an area that I'm uncomfortable with. And even with dentists, like our bay leaders or D3s, D4s, upperclassmen, it just taught me how to like really just speak up, like just say, you know, say what I need to say, and be comfortable in my own presence, and not be so self-conscious. Like it literally just taught me that like people are people, everyone is human, everybody is going to feel the same nervousness and uncomfortability as you are going into it. And so in that aspect, like I'm so happy that I casually dated. I'm so happy that I waited to form my friendships and my relationships and stuff. And so I would give social aspect of dental school like solid like 9. Okay, hold on. 8.5, just because you would expect people at our age to be a little more mature, and it, like I said, it does feel like high school. And so 8.5 mandibular first molars out of 10. Okay, and moving into what I feel is probably going to be the longest part of this video, therapy. So I broke the generational curse and started therapy. And when I tell you, I was never like anti-therapy either. It was just the fact that like I couldn't afford it, nor did I have time. And one, I still can't afford it. But two, I would suggest looking through your university, because I did therapy through my school and I requested a Black woman who understands a newly out queer person. And they paired me with my therapist, who was amazing, and she gave me like really great tips and pointers and asked me questions. And I really feel like that was the important part of therapy. But all that to say, the importance of my mental health personally at this time in my life, where I was constantly wondering like what is wrong with me. Like I am in a place where I've wanted to be for so long. I'm in a place where anybody would probably like, okay, maybe not die to be, but not a lot of people, you know, get into a doctoral program. Not a lot of people like want to be doctors. And so the fact that I'm here, like, why the hell am I so sad? Like, why am I so depressed and angry at myself and stuff like that? And babes, it wasn't you, it was your hormones, my girl. And so like my therapist, let's not get into like what we talked about, but basically understanding that some of that stuff is out of my control. And so being able to control different aspects of my life, like I said previously, the amount of like weight I hold on grades, I let go of. My relationships, I stopped putting so much importance on romantic relationships and really tried to find a foundation in friendships and learning myself before I get into a relationship, so that when I do, I'm not like shaken by every emotional like war that goes on in my head. So not even dealing with school, I talked a lot about like my relationships, and that's one thing that they really don't tell you about anything postgraduate, where you've moved out and you live on your own and you have your own time and you sit with your own thoughts, is how lonely it is to be an adult. It is the most lonely I've ever been in my entire life, and getting out of a relationship probably didn't help that. And that's why I'm like in therapy. I wanted to stress the importance of being happy for myself. And yeah, I hear a lot of people talking about like, oh, well, we only have one more test. We only have 6 more weeks of school. We only have this. We only have that. And I was like, if I can only live to one more checkpoint, am I really living? And so I wanted to be content in like my everyday life, which goes to having like outlets, going on walks, getting outside, reading books, being patient with myself. And that's all stuff that I knew that I needed to do, but I really started implementing because of therapy. And I started being intentional and keeping a journal and doing shadow work and stuff like that. And it was just very fundamental to being sane and being able to be in this program. I definitely wouldn't probably be able to do it because of how much I doubted myself. But it's all up here, you know? And so, yeah, so that was, I highly, highly advocate for any kind of therapy, and with a professional too, because you don't want to like trauma dump on people who are going through the exact same thing as you and they're like, okay, why are you so stressed out about this? A therapist does not have any skin in the game. They are going to be unbiased. And so therapy, I rate that 10 out of 10 number 9s. This is awful. Like, these are my favorite teeth though. Notice how nobody's saying a premolar because you're just a baby molar. No, I'm kidding. I'm a big advocate for therapy. Literally 10 out of 10, the best thing I could have ever done for myself. And I would highly recommend that to absolutely anybody. Just, it doesn't even matter if you think that you need therapy, like you probably do. And there's probably something that you need to unpack, because if you, little mister, are still getting academic validation at our big old age, then there is something wrong with us. And this brings us into the final part of the video, which is just my conclusions and closing thoughts, which I've kind of, you know, talked about in every single section, but I will just like accumulate them here. Number 1 is burnout is so real. Burnout is that talk of like, oh, we only have, and just like counting down the days and just not having absolutely any motivation. And I genuinely do feel like you can stave that away by a couple of other key points, but mainly having an outlet, giving yourself time to step away from work without that guilt and anxiety, which I know is so hard because I have it too. But it's so important to be a human and be your own person and not be like a slave to your academics. And I know it's hard because you're like, I'm here for a reason and I'm not gonna bullshit around and I'm not gonna waste all of the time and energy that I've had to put here. But if you burn out and you have nothing else to give, and you're not happy, then you're going to rethink like, why am I even doing this to begin with? I personally never want to lose that, why am I doing this? And so I know that for me, I need to go on a hot girl walk and buy a coffee every other 2 days. And sometimes, like, if that's what it takes to get you through it, buy that coffee, get that book, buy those shoes. For me, retail therapy is a huge thing, which, you know, might not be the best thing. But like I said, if it gets you through it, you gotta do it. Next takeaway, learn to adjust your expectations. Graduate school is exactly what you make it. So, like I said before, I knew that if I was going to spend another 4 years in school, I was not going to be an all A girl. I used to get all A's very easily in undergrad. I, you know, never really blinked at a B. Now, I'm so okay with a B. And I had to adjust my own expectations and like what that really meant. I was like, oh, am I just like lowering it because I know I can't do it? No, I could probably do it if I wanted to be unhappy all of the time and like not have any fun. I could definitely do it. And there are people who do it way easier with way less sacrifice. But I know that's not me. And so comparing myself to my classmates, comparing myself to my past self, that's really what it is. Comparing myself to what I've been instead of what I can be, like that is just the biggest hill that I had to go over, because you've been able to see yourself in the past. You've been able to see what you've been able to do. It's really now like, okay, but now what does that look like in this new environment that I'm in? What does that look like now that I have my own dog and my own apartment and I'm alone and I have all of these other expectations, and I have to go see patients and stress about what teachers are thinking about me? Like, it truly is a plethora of different things just bombarding you at all times. And so all that to say is, life's what you make it, Hannah Montana, but it really is exactly what you make it. And so with my last point, which I said kind of in passing, and it's a gentle reminder for myself, is to be patient. Things are going to take time, whether that's making friends, whether that's adjusting, whether that's finding a new way to study. It all takes time, and it's okay that you are going to have to rediscover these things. For me, I felt like it was a setback. It was me like failing, because I had spent so long building up, this study habit or building up this relationship and stuff, for it to just not work in where I am currently. And you literally can't have that outlook on life, just in general, but also just cutting yourself slack, because there are going to be other people who are going to be so much harder on you. Your patients, your professors, your parents, they're going to be so hard on you. So the best thing you can do for yourself is to give yourself forgiveness, because you won't be able to control whether other people are kind to you or if other people forgive you for your mistakes. So you need to do that for yourself. And yeah, that's just, I mean, it's funny because I would never be saying this stuff, I think, even like 3 months ago. But like I said, girl, therapy works. So get on it. Go ahead, make your appointment right now. That's pretty much all I had to say. Overall, my D1 experience definitely had its ups and downs and downs and downs and then ups and downs and then up and then down again. And it was definitely some weeks where I felt like somebody had shit in my hand, and then they put my hand in an oven, and then they put that oven in a dumpster, and then they lit that dumpster on fire, and then they put it in a plane crash. And, you know, here I am, glowing, happy, hydrated. I got my dog, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy, but surround yourself with the right support system. You get your own help, and you are your #1 advocate. Girl, can't nobody tell you anything. This is kind of a message to future me as well. Girl, you did it before and you can do it again. And you have great people behind you, and you're constantly learning and changing and evolving, and that is just so beautiful. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. And if nobody told you today, I'm proud of you too. Now, this part of the video is an honorable mention part of my video. So this is a very niche reference to the Click movies, which, if anybody's wondering why I had a Mean Girl phase, blame that franchise. Anyways, so at the end of the day, Massey Block always had her State of the Union where she listed ins and outs. So here are my D1 ins and outs of the year. In Harry Styles, Harry's House. The amount of serotonin and just the timing of that album was absolutely perfect. It came out right before summer hit. I was playing it. I was playing it on repeat. It really does make me happy. I'm not even a hairy girl like that. Brandy is in. Brandy is my ride or die for dental school. You know, she's the sun, I'm the moon. And so all of her study guides and stuff have helped me tremendously. And every day she texts me, today is gonna be, and every day I say, a good day. And it's just our little reminder that today is what we make it. Even though sometimes I'd be like, but I'm on my period, so today's not gonna be a good day. Brandy is definitely in. What else is in? PCD instructors, y'all are in. Kisses, except for when I cry in the corner because I can't take criticism. My outs are supply window at second floor clinic. Why the hell do I have an anxiety attack every time I have to ask for something and I never say anything correctly? And then they just be looking at you like,
I'm confused.
and I'm like, yeah, can I please get a rubber dam? And they're like, they're in the cup. I don't even have to grab it. And I'm like, oops, sorry. Speaking of, my next out is rubber dams. I get the premise. I understand it's a safety thing. The frame, the clamp, the dam, it's hard to put on the tooth. It's anxiety inducing. I sweat every time I have to do it. What else is out? Amalgam preps. You're out. Anything mechanically retained? Why when you could be chemically retained? You have too much criteria, and I just think that you're a little high standard, so you're out. That brings us to the end of the video. If you ended up watching this whole thing, thanks for watching. That's all I gotta say to you guys. Until the next video, I will see you guys later.